Good morning, Delaware. Welcome to Off the Shelf. It's great to have you here. Good morning, Nicole. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, George?
Oh, I'm just wonderful. It feels like spring, even though we've had a little cooler towards the end of the week. But boy, did it feel nice earlier this week.
You know, I'm that Midwesterner who is like, well, I'm only going from my house to my car and then my car to my place of employment, so I don't wear a coat.
Yeah, I had to pull out the old windbreaker again today. So
I do leave one in my car, like just in case I am going to actually walk someplace.
Or because it's Ohio and it could have been 40 degrees cooler when you got back in your car than it was when you got in.
Exactly.
So our guest this morning is Harla Lawson, the branch manager at the Ostrander Branch Library. Good morning, Harla.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. We have so much going on at Ostrander next week, and we can't wait to get into talking about it.
Yes, we have a lot.
Yes. Didn't you look at a calendar when you? Oh,
I know. I should have somehow.
You made this. You did this. I tell that to my
responsible.
husband all the time. I'm like, you did this.
Before we start talking about what we're writing, I got the latest edition of Check It Out, the Spring 22 edition of our newsletter.
Yes.
Who is this handsome devil on the cover of Check It Out? And it's not me.
He is our new friend. His name is Percival, and we like to call him Percy for short. He is a fuzzy blue with beautiful iridescent purple and green hair unicorn.
Those colors look vaguely familiar, aren't they? Why would I know those three colors so well?
Well, they might have been made with the intention to go along with the Delaware County District Library brand because he is our brand ambassador, or as some might call him, a mascot.
We will be talking about when you might have your first opportunity to meet Percival, or Percy as we call him, in the second half of the show.
Yes. And if you were on social media at all this week, you would have seen his introduction on Facebook and Instagram yesterday. And yeah, he's really delightful.
I think he's going to be very popular as a brand ambassador.
Yes, there were a group of children who got to meet him a little bit earlier than all of the rest of the community, and they also got the Spring Check It Out in their hands this week because it is Read Across America Week and Dr. Seuss's birthday, and they were very excited to see their buddy on the cover.
Imagine that, 3-year-olds in a focus group.
Yeah, nope, it was cute.
All right, so what are you reading, listening to, binging on this week, Nicole?
I finished a book that is a little woo-woo. You know, I can sometimes get out there with my books. This one is nonfiction. It's almost like an autobiography. It's by a woman named Lynne Jackson, and it's called The Light Between Us, Stories from Heaven, Lessons for the Living. Oh. And it's a story about, she tells her life story and basically tells a little bit about how, let me tell you first how I found out who Lynne Jackson is. There's a show on Netflix, and it's called Surviving Death. And like episode 1 talks about like near-death experiences and interviews a lot of people who have had near-death experiences, and a lot of them have similarities no matter what walk of life they're coming from, where they're located. You know, a lot of them are like, I saw something and I felt some way, and it all kind of goes in hand. And so they interview a lot of different people. And so she's interviewed on this show, and she's interviewed as like a psychic or a medium or whatever you want to call it. Some people just call it like being sensitive, you know, having a feeling, having a gut, an intuition, a reaction to something. And I was just really, I don't know, she felt, when they interviewed her, she felt very calming. And for some reason, intuition, I was like, I want to see if she's written a book. And she had. And so I looked it up and I checked out The Light Between Us. And it's a very easy read. Each chapter is a story. And it's not going to take you more than, you know, a couple days to get through. Or if you read it just a story or two at a time, it might take you a week. And it talks about how she's always kind of followed her intuition, why she's really curious about what intuition and science have to do with each other. Because she was like, I always have these gut feelings and I always see these things and feel like I know these things, but I want to test it, you know? So then she goes and she kind of subjects herself to different like scientific testings of it. And it's just really, really fascinating. So I don't know. I would recommend it they recommend it on Goodreads if you've read Proof of Heaven, which is the story about the neuroscientist who had a near-death experience. If you like that book, you might like this book. But basically, it's kind of how she found peace through a scientific understanding of her intuition and just different little like woo-woo kind of weird coincidental moments all throughout her life. So it's called The Light Between Us.
Sounds good. Great. Thank you. Harla, what have you been reading or listening to?
Yes, I just listening to is what the one I wanted to share about today. It is actually in preparation for, and I had to work in the medieval fair,
Right.
that we have at June 4th coming up for summer reading. We'll be having our medieval fair at the Ostrander Branch. And so in preparation for that, I'm reading Hood, or just finished Hood by Stephen Lawhead. And it's a story about Robin Hood, historical fiction. He's written a series on it. Tuck is the next one, about Friar Tuck. Mm-hmm. And so I just finished Hood, and our Caleb Kramer, who is one of our library associates, volunteered, sort of, to have the Sherwood Forest part of our medieval fair. So we're
Cool.
this is a new station for us. So we're very excited to have that. So
I want
in
to be
preparation,
Friar Tuck.
oh, we need a Friar Tuck.
Good.
I know somebody who could probably make me like a monk's
Yes.
robe.
That's
That would be
probably an easier
wonderful.
costume.
You hear that
Yes.
one, hon?
Yes, we would love that because we do need Friar Tuck. So it's a great historical fiction. Stephen Lawhead is one of a very favorite author of mine, but he's done a good job with it. It really has that medieval fair feel to it. So that's just I'm preparing mentally for the medieval fair.
Could you liken the story to any of the Robin Hoods that we know? Like there's the Disney and there's the Men in Tights and there's,
Earl Flynn.
so many other versions. Could you liken it to any of those?
Not the Disney version so much. It is very, but the other ones, yeah, in ways, because it definitely hits British history and Wales and just definitely a feel for the time. He really captures the era, the whole historical feel of it. So he gives you a lot of history along with what's happening with the characters. He introduces some new ones. So it's been very fun reading it and getting some history in that and getting in the mood for medieval fair. So
Yay.
That sounds
should be
great.
fun.
Yeah.
Highly recommended.
Cool. And who you said it's Hood by who's the author again?
Stephen Lawhead.
Stephen Lawhead. Okay, great. I was going to be all ready for last week's show for the end of Black History Month because I have been reading March by John Lewis, the 3-volume graphic novel version of his life. And so, of course, then I couldn't make last week's show, so I didn't get to talk about it, but I'm not wasting it because this is a really good set of books. All of these are available in paper or in ebook format from us. And so March is kind of like the culmination of the impact of graphic literature on its readers because this starts out with John Lewis being introduced to the work and philosophy of Martin Luther King through a comic book titled Martin Luther King and the Montgomery Story. James Lawson, who is an organizer for a group known as the Fellowship for Reconciliation, introduced Lewis to the concept of nonviolence and civil disobedience through this comic book.
Interesting.
So anyway, the 3 volumes of March take Lewis's story from his intellectual and emotional commitment to the civil rights movement and especially to nonviolence as a student in high school and then through college. And it's starts with his kind of awakening with things like the Montgomery bus boycott and things like that. But then through the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge on the walk from Selma to Montgomery that included Bloody Sunday. So book 1 begins with a framing device where Lewis is talking to some kids who are in his office on January 20th, 2009. They're there for the inauguration of Barack Obama as president. He tells the kids his story from growing up on a chicken farm on his father's land in Pike County, Alabama. And he talks about how his parents wanted him basically to just get along to go along. You know, they didn't want him to make a fuss. They didn't want to be him being an activist, but he had other relatives who were really interested in the burgeoning civil rights movement. So he kind of, without his parents really knowing, got involved in this. So then that covers the beginning of the movement, and it kind of covers through the, if I'm remembering correctly, let me just check real quick. It takes you through the early the sit-ins down south to kind of break up the segregated lunch counters and that sort of thing. Book 2 covers the freedom rides from the early 60s and concludes with the bombing of the Birmingham church that killed the 4 little girls. This shocked the nation enough that it actually led to the passage of the Civil Rights Act under President Johnson. Then the book 3 takes us through the fight for voting rights and and also through the early splits in the civil rights movement. There were those who really wanted to cling to King's version of nonviolence and civil disobedience. And then there were others who were willing to take a little more direct action, who wanted to fight back, who didn't want to just turn the other cheek when people were blasting fire hoses and lynching and everything else. So through the heart of that, then Lewis ends up resigning as the chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee when they became a little more willing to accept violence. And so he backed off at that point. And that's basically where the trilogy ends. There is a fourth book called Run, which takes him through his early days in politics. And he was working on that when he passed away, and it was eventually published posthumously. This is an excellent read. It's a great introduction to the civil rights movement from one of the leaders who lived through everything, basically. I mean, he was just a teenager when the Montgomery bus boycott started, but he was there, like it says, from there all the way through the point where Obama was not only elected president, but he was really one of the grand old men of the House of Representatives and greatly respected. The story is very well told. The art is good. The author, John Lewis and Andrew Aydin, Aydin, are credited as the authors. The illustrator is Nate Powell, and he just does a beautiful job of capturing the time and of capturing the story. It's also a very inspirational book because it's all about sticking to your beliefs in the face of almost insurmountable opposition. And so you come away from the book feeling like there is always hope, and that if you continue to work on your beliefs and continue to develop them as long as you live, you can make good trouble, as John Lewis used to say. So I really recommend it. It's, like I said, it's available in ebook or in paper format. It's called March, books 1, 2, and 3, and I hope you get a chance to give them a read. So we are going to take a break here. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the multiplicity of things happening at the Ostrander Branch in the coming weeks. So whatever you do, stay tuned. And welcome back to Off the Shelf. We are here with Harla Lawson from the Ostrander Branch Library. Before we get started, I also neglected to mention our great friend Gage Tellis behind the board this morning.
Hello.
Always great to have you back. It seems like a while since we've been all of us together. So,
Yes.
Anyway, it's good to be back here. And so I also want to mention that this weekend we have a big book sale at the Delaware Library from the Friends of the Library. The garage, which has been basically refitted as a very small bookstore with shelving and everything now, makes it a lot easier to find your way around. The books will be in the garage, and in the community room inside the library, we will have a huge assortment of DVDs, CDs, books, recorded books of various types. Some of them are MP3 books. Some of them are on CD. So it's a real variety of things, and you're not going to find better prices in town.
No.
The books are by the bag, by the Friends bag, and the DVDs and CDs are $1 a piece. I mean, you can't miss that.
Yeah, it's really the best deal.
Yeah.
Get a bag, fill the bag, refill the bag, dump the bag, refill the bag.
And I also want to mention that the tickets for the program with William Kent Kruger on April 27th went on sale this week as well. So there are tickets available. If you're a friend of the library, you get a $5 discount on the tickets. There are also, if there are any tickets left, they will be selling tickets to a special lunch with Mr. Kruger on that afternoon before the program, which also includes a copy of his latest book and a chance to get it autographed by him there at lunch. So look for that on DelawareLibraryFriends.org or Eventbrite.
And you can find it on the Delaware Library events page, too.
Oh, that's great.
So many places to make it easy.
You can't get away from it. So, Harla, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
I hope you're getting your rest this weekend because you got a heck of a week coming up.
Yes. Somehow that happened. Everything happened in 1 week. We start off actually on this coming Saturday. We are bringing back the Kids Cookbook Club.
Yay!
Yes,
the return.
It's been what two years or so since we've been able to have this program, and we're thrilled to have it and offered. It was always one of our most popular ones in the past. So Lori Post, who is our youth services specialist, will be hosting this program, and Kids Cookbook Club. They'll be making hand pies. It'll be and they're focusing on the book Baking with Children. And by Leah Brooks.
I prefer flour.
Oh,
I was like, you shouldn't bake with children.
Yeah, baking with children. Well, that's true. That went right over. We won't actually be baking the children, however, but we will be making hand pies. The supplies are all supplied by the library, and the kids come and just take part. And Lori will be leading them through the the making of them, the baking of them, and the eating of them.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's a really fun program for school-age children, basically 6 to 11-year-olds. So you can come. There's no registration. Just come on this Saturday at 1 o'clock.
It's really nice to just teach them some independent skills, you know? I mean, my daughter is 7, and I'm like, yes, you can make yourself lunch. Have fun.
And they love it.
Yes.
They really like to do that.
Exactly.
So it's we're expecting a good crowd and looking forward to that program very, very much.
Yes.
Next week, too, we have on Tuesday, the 8th, we have our photographs of the past. And this is a project I've been doing for years and years, collecting old photographs of Ostrander. And so I decided to make a day of it from 2 to 6:30. People can bring their old photographs, and I know you have them.
Yes.
They're in your closet, under your bed, maybe tucked down in the basement. There are tubs of old pictures. Go through them, find some old pictures of Ostrander and Scioto Township, bring them to the library. We will scan them, give them right back to you, and we will add those to our database of a growing database of pictures and memorabilia from the old days of Ostrander and Scioto Township. I will say I've been promoting this for a couple of weeks now, and already people asked if they could bring them in early. So they have been. I've been getting emails with attachments, and one of our patrons brought in several items today for us to scan, and then she'll come back later and pick them up. So we're getting them early. That is absolutely fine. But the day, our main day is this coming Tuesday, from 2 to 6:30. So look for those pictures. We'd love to have them. I've got to say, one of the golden ones we've gotten most recently was a picture of a hotel before the fire. I believe it was in 1923 that Ostrander, the main business section of Ostrander, burned. This is a picture prior to that of one of the hotels that burned.
Wow.
Ostrander had 2 hotels.
Two,
And an opera house. But all of that burned in the fire, and this is a picture of the hotel with the owner, Rosa Price, in front of it, and it's priceless.
What amazing work.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's just kind of cool if you're into that kind of stuff.
That
And
is
I am.
so cool. I mean,
Yeah, it is neat.
That's such a great role for the public library to be maintaining those sorts of things as well. Yeah, working with the historical societies and everything, but also that kind of proactive approach to grabbing these pictures before they get. Somebody like my grandkids, when they look at it, they might just throw it away, not knowing that there's anything valuable to it.
Right.
So it's great that you're saving them.
It does happen with photographs. The next generation doesn't know who they are and doesn't look important, so they go. They go out. So we have that coming up next Tuesday. Thursday of next week, the 10th, we have our first teen program in ages as well. All of these programs are in person.
Yes.
Shannon Schilling is the teen librarian for Delaware, and we share her with Delaware. So she's coming out to Ostrander to offer a teen program and it's middle school and teens. She's going to do games and trivia and some fun stuff with the kids starting at 5:30. It'll be about an hour long, but it'll be our first little dip into that teenage world again. And so we're very excited to offer that and very happy that Shannon's on board with us on that one. We have the next day is Homeschool Book Club, which is one of my favorite programs. I love this one. Homeschool children we have a theme every month, and they are given an opportunity to read a book and then give an oral book report. And these presentations are fascinating. They do a fabulous job.
And it's really anyone in any grade. The whole family can, because many times with homeschool families, the whole family's learning together.
Absolutely.
So bring the whole family to the club.
Yeah, it is really, it's fun to watch the kids develop as the first book report. They're barely, they're shaking and they hardly know what to say. By the time they've gotten a couple months in, they're doing PowerPoint presentations and all kinds of great posters. We just have all kinds of things that happen with that, and it's wonderful being a part. It's one of my favorite programs. So that's
and the theme this month is Women's History Month.
Right. So we'll be celebrating women's books and different people and different women, and so it should be really, really good. We do have our story times every Thursday. Lori Post does those for preschoolers, so we're very, very happy to invite you to come bring your toddler to story time at Ostrander. We love it. We also have 2 adult book groups that meet. Kelly does our morning group, and she does it every first Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. She has a blast. We sit out at the desk and we could hear them laughing and talking and laughing some more. So they have a great time in there. I host the evening group the 4th Tuesday night of every month. And so we're coming up on that one. We're going to be reading Fast Girls by Elise Hooper. and it's about the Olympics in the 30s.
Oh.
And some girls, it's a historical fiction, but they're runners in the Fast Girls. So
Nice.
yeah, so we're looking forward to that. It looks to be a very, very good book. I'm not finished with it yet, but almost. So
That's great. Wow, you don't hear much about the women runners back then. You
No.
always hear about Jesse Owens and people like that, but you don't hear
Right.
about the women runners as much. So
yeah, and this one starts on how they were discovered, kind of thing, and then builds into their training, and then absolutely going to the Olympics and how unusual that was for that time. So it's going to be a good book, I think.
that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
We have a lot
All
going
that
on.
great activity right there in Ostrander. And
Yes.
I always think about that when I drive through Ostrander because, the elevators there and the train tracks, and you
Yeah.
think what this must have been like when the trains were, constant. And, you can understand why there would have been hotel, maybe even two.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's amazing.
And an opera house. How
And an
neat.
opera
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. Ostrander's gone through a lot of different times, and if anybody's driven out there recently and just viewed all the new houses growing and being built out in that area, it's definitely growing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we have a couple other things going on this week. I want to mention on Thursday, if you're not at the Homeschoolers Book Club, in the afternoon at 2 o'clock and then at 6 o'clock at the Delaware Library, we have Rosa Parks and Friends presented by Bright Star Theater Company, and the same group that did the African folk tales and did the Martin Luther King program a couple of years ago on I guess it was last year on Zoom.
Yes.
They are terrific. If you saw African folk tales, you know how much energy these guys put into their presentations. It'll be a lot of fun. And so that's at 2 o'clock at Orange and at 6 o'clock at Delaware this coming
Friday.
Did I say Thursday?
Yeah, it's all right.
That's not all right.
It is.
I should get these things right.
Friday the 11th, Delaware City Schools is closed, and I believe there are many other local schools in the area that are closed as well due to teacher in-service days. So
Okay, that explains.
if you are like me and you have to be home with your children on those days, bring them to the library.
Definitely.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
what a great idea. You know what else is fun? Books and Brews is coming back
yes.
this week, too. It's coming back on Wednesday. It's a 5:30 one at the Powell Daily Growler, and they are talking The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, which has gotten all of the big reviews this spring. So people are really excited about Books and Brews coming back. We do ask that you register for your seat for that one, just so we know how many seats to reserve at the Daily Growler. And then I'm super excited. We can't say that we own this program, but we are happy to host it in 2 Mondays from now, or 2 Tuesdays from now, actually. Monday. I was wrong. Monday the 14th. We are hosting Mindy McGinnis's release party for The Last Laugh, which is the duology, the second in the duology to The Initial Insult. And we're really happy. Beanbag Books is kind of shifting spaces right now. They're doing some renovations, and so they couldn't host her, but they wanted to have a party for her. So
It's going to be at our house.
it's going to be at our house. And so I'm so excited.
I was in Beanbag Books in their pop-up location yesterday. On Wednesday to pick up a gift card for my granddaughter, whose birthday is actually today.
Oh, happy birthday, Mallory.
And so, they had signs up about this, and just delighted to see it. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
We would be remiss also if we didn't give a super early plug to Saturday, April 23rd at 2 o'clock in Ostrander, which is when you're having the unicorn party.
Yes.
that'll be your first opportunity to come out and shake hooves with
Yes.
Bump
with
hooves,
Percy.
give a hip bump. Yeah.
And
with
I was
Percy.
thinking he's very tall.
He is
So
very
look
tall,
way
yes,
up. Those
yes.
toddlers will look way up. We are really pleased to host this. This was a program that was planned right before we shut down and for COVID. And so we actually had the plans and everything, and Lori's been wanting to do it again, and finally we got the okay to go.
With the unicorn,
and it was perfect because now we had a unicorn.
Right.
And there will be some live unicorns there as well.
Oh my
we have
gosh.
a local gal that can make that happen. So
Wow.
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We'll have Percy, and then we'll have some other unicorns and lots of activities going on that afternoon. So
Yeah.
the 23rd of April.
It's so
See,
exciting.
between the medieval fair and the unicorn party, Ostrander is a magical place.
right.
Perfect. Yes, it truly is in some ways. That's for sure.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Nicole, for being here.
Always a
and
pleasure.
Harla, always glad to have you on the show here.
It's a pleasure.
You.
Thank you for
Gage, thank you. Thanks to our friends in the library. Don't forget the book sale Saturday at Delaware Library from 9 to 3. And we will see you in the stacks.